In this Chronos Before the Ashes review, I'm going to go over all the different features of Chronos, and at the end here I'm going to give you my opinion on whether or not Chronos Before the Ashes is worth picking up. Hey guys, this is Chris with B&B Gaming. Welcome back, and I hope you're doing amazing today. Thank you for taking the time to check out this video. Thank you for your likes, your shares, your comments, all the support you guys give me. Definitely appreciate it. Now to start out with, guys, what exactly is Chronos Before the Ashes? So Chronos Before the Ashes is actually an action role-playing game in the vein of Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Demon Souls, etc. And what I mean by that is, in Chronos Before the Ashes, enemies have specific attack patterns and defense patterns that you have to learn and adapt to. Where this type of game is different is that if you screw up, even the smallest enemy in this type of game can do significant damage to you or even kill you. Now, all that said, Chronos Before the Ashes isn't Dark Souls, so it's not really complex, really deep, which makes it very approachable for new players and more casual players. So one unique feature of Chronos Before the Ashes is that when you die, your character ages 1 year. So how this plays out in Chronos is, at a certain age, the game won't allow you to put any more points in agility and strength, and you'll only be able to put them in arcane and vitality. So Chronos Before the Ashes is actually a port of a VR game called Chronos VR, which I believe came out in 2016. Now, why this is important is because when they made this VR game, the focus, in my opinion anyway, was the visuals and the sound, so the immersion of the experience, because, well, it's VR. So the gameplay itself, because of this, is fairly limited. As far as I know, there's only 6 weapons in here you can choose from, 4 different styles of magic, and they're not even magic, they're just kind of little additions you make to your melee combat. So your spear's on fire, or it does electric damage, or gives you health, or it gives you invincibility, etc. So as far as progression in Chronos Before the Ashes, you're going to level up like standard role-playing games, so you'll gain skill points that you can invest in different categories. So here we have strength, agility, arcane, which is their version of magic, and finally vitality. You'll also be able to level up your weapons by picking up crafting material they call dragon shards. You'll also pick up 4 different magic types as you work your way through the game. So you have fire, you have invincibility, you have electricity, and finally you have health leech. Now in Chronos, you're not going to be casting fireballs or electricity or anything. Essentially all it does is it just adds a status effect to your melee weapon, so your hammer would do fire damage, etc. Another way you can level up in Chronos is essentially by dying, which is weird. Anyways, once you reach level, I believe 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, all the way up to level 80, so every 10 levels, you'll get a choice of 1 of 3 perks that you can attach to your character. So at level 20, I usually choose XP boost, so you gain more XP per kill. And level 30, I usually choose evade, so it increases your evade window, etc. So your next question might be, what platforms is Chronos available on? So Chronos Before the Ashes is available on PC via Steam, also Xbox One, PS4, Switch, and also the next-gen versions of the Xbox and PS5. Another question you're probably wondering is, does Chronos have multiplayer, co-op, or crossplay? So Chronos is a dedicated single-player experience. Another question you're probably wondering is, how much gameplay could you get out of this game? I've seen walkthroughs on YouTube because I actually use them quite a bit, because there's certain puzzles in here that are not intuitive. They're just kind of like, here's a puzzle, figure it out kind of deal. So I'd go on YouTube and look at a walkthrough and just kind of fast forward till I found the puzzle and waited for them to fix it. Well, anyways, with those walkthroughs, I saw anywhere from 3 to 10 hours. Me personally, since it took me a while to figure out the puzzles, I believe I had about 8 hours in my first playthrough, and on my second playthrough here, I'm at about 5 hours. As far as replayability goes, Chronos does have 3 different difficulties, and that's about it. As far as I know, it doesn't have a Game Plus mode or anything like that. You just kind of go through it and it's over. Another question you're probably wondering, does it have loot boxes or microtransactions, etc.? It doesn't have any micro, so it's just a solid full game experience. Another question you might be wondering, do they have DLC plans for Chronos? As far as I know, they don't have any plans to expand Chronos. It's just a solid start to finish game experience. However, if you haven't played it yet, I would highly recommend checking out Remnant from the Ashes, which is the sequel to this game, and in fact is nothing like it. I mean, it has the, I guess, Dark Souls-esque experience where the enemies, are more technical and they do more damage, but in Remnant from the Ashes, you're using guns instead of using melee weapons, and you also have a vast array of magic, guns, melee weapons. It's a phenomenal game, and I'd highly recommend picking it up. So finally, in part 3, what is my opinion of Chronos Before the Ashes? Would I recommend picking this game up? To start with, honestly, I like it, and there's parts of it really irritate me. So to start with, what I really like is when I get in a flow and I feel like I can handle enemies, and even when I get killed by a boss over and over again, it's just really, really satisfying. As far as what I don't like is how they handle death in this game. At times it just feels demoralizing, and honestly, sometimes it feels like an insult to injury when you get a perk when you die. And for me, it kind of feels like getting a perk after you die in Modern Warfare 2. They used to give you Juggernaut or whatever if you died 3, 4, 5 times in a row. It's just, hey, you suck. Here's a participation medal. Another part of this game I find a little irritating are some of the puzzles and the layouts of the game. I think specifically the first level of the game I knew was going to have a little bit of trouble because there's one area and they don't really tell you what to do. You're just walking around and they have this room open and they don't tell you. It's like, hey, you're supposed to backtrack and touch the crystal. It didn't ruin the experience for me, but it could have been better. As far as graphics go, because I played so much of Remnant from the Ashes, this game really brings a lot of nostalgia for me. Hey, I know that enemy, or hey, this area looks familiar, or whatever. And I would say this game looks a little cartoony, but for me, it stays away from the extreme cartooniness. As far as the sound goes, I would say it's excellent. It does a great job letting you know where the enemies are, when they're going to attack, and it also has a good soundscape as far as you can hear stuff behind you, in front of you, or wherever you are. As far as controls go, overall I'd say they're solid. However, I have noticed the game will ignore a dodge command or a charged attack command every once in a while, which is frustrating, especially when you're playing on the higher difficulties. As far as combat goes, at times I think it's very satisfying. One of the tricks of Chronos is that your health refills when you level up, and you also have a limited amount of health potions. So you have this great tension from time to time when you have, half health or something, and you're maybe 1 or 2 kills away from leveling up. And again, even the smallest enemy can kill you in here if you screw up. So it can be really satisfying, even fighting small enemies at times. Or I fought a boss last night where I had a stitch of health, no dragon hearts left, and I ended up killing him with the last blow, and it was really satisfying. Now, a couple things that are frustrating for me in here from time to time are, first, the lock-on. For some reason, it will disengage if you get a little too far away from an enemy, and I think it's like way too sensitive, especially in a game like this, again, where they can do a lot of damage to you if you miss a block or a dodge or whatever. And another thing that can be frustrating from time to time is the camera. And I've had this happen to me several times where the boss or an enemy will kind of put me in a corner or something. I can't see my character and they just mash me to death. So finally, would I recommend picking up Chronos Before the Ashes? I'd recommend getting it on sale. So you get it for $5, $10, $15. I think it would be very happy with it. Personally, I paid $30 for this, and there's not enough game here for $30. What is here is quality, and it's a fun experience, so that's why I'm saying if you can get it on sale, go ahead and pick it up.